Well, hello and welcome to all of our viewers around the world. I'm Fiona Lang-Sharp, IBCLC Director of Communications, and one of the MCs here at Gold. Today, I'm so excited. We're talking about Gold Neonatal, and it's coming up really soon, folks. So you can join us online at goldneonatal.com for all the details that we're talking about today, and of course, the up and coming event. It begins on May 30th. So you can join us over there. We have keynotes that are open access and free, so you can join in, all of those absolutely free to you. And then we have an amazing program set up as well. And of course, we're going to be talking to our two guest speakers that you can see on the screen today from my homeland. I'm so excited you're here talking about a great topic, which we'll get into in a minute. But please welcome Emily Hills and Lindsay Hardy. Welcome to both of you. It's so good to have you here today.
Thank you for having us.
So we've had a lot of fun, a little bit of banter back and forth talking about this topic that they're going to be sharing on. But first of all, ladies, I'm going to have maybe Emily, you are next to me on my screen. I'll have you introduce yourself first. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do and where you are.
So hi, my name is Emily Hills and I'm a neonatal occupational therapist. So I work in a level 2 neonatal unit in North London. So that in the UK, I think is slightly different from the States and other places. So we look after babies 27 weeks and up. And I get to lead on family-centered care, neurobehavioral development, supporting co-occupations, and also the neurodevelopmental follow-up. And I'm a certified neonatal therapist and also a neonatal touch and massage certified. And I've done my master's in advanced neonatal studies at Southampton University.
Oh, I love that. You said that so warmly as well, like you just love every minute of that. That's wonderful. Thank you, Emily. And Lindsay, welcome. And again, share a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So thank you. Yes, I'm Lindsay Hardy. I'm also an occupational therapist and I work for a children's charity called PACE, which is about 40 miles northwest of London. And there I lead a team of therapists, that's physios, OTs and speech and language therapists across the organisation. And the organisation, one of the areas it has is an area of early intervention. And so we work with the families and the children if they've left the neonatal unit or there've been traumatic challenges at birth or there's some red flags around early development. And so we really are trying to develop a service that is very family-centered. So it's about the family and what they want and they require at any given time, rather than being prescriptive about the child's development, more about what the family is needing at that moment in time. Ooh. So I've also, I've spent many years teaching sensory integration and developing sensory-based courses in the UK. And so then together with Emily, the two of us then set up this Sensory Beginnings to sensory inform the world, really, the important role of sensation in our development.
Oh, fantastic. And I mean, I even mentioned, we've learned more and more about, sensory integration, sensory things about ourselves. But of course, being that these are our little newest, most fragile little ones in the NICU, and for a long time, this really wasn't even part of the equation, in the beginning stages of the NICU. And even as a parent of a NICU, I remember I think it was 95, Edward was in there. And it really wasn't, it was around, but it wasn't really, it wasn't fully immersed. We didn't get other specialists very often in the NICU. We would see them after the fact. And so, of course, that has changed today. So collaborative care is such a wonderful thing that we're talking about. But you're not on the outside of the NICUs anymore. You're inside. You're actually working as teams and, embracing it, which is amazing. And so I think that is just wonderful. And the other thing you said that we hear more frequently now is family-centered care. And we are working so hard to make that happen, right across the board. I think that's something that we hear around the world now, that people are really starting to embrace it. It's not perfect, but we're working hard to learn more about it and how to do better. So I'm really excited that you're here. I do want to hear more about the products that you have. I want to know where to go to get more information. Do you have a website? Like what are you doing? And are you teaching other practitioners as well?
Yes, so we have a 3-day sensory beginnings mastery class. So
Ooh.
it started out originally, we set it up originally for occupational therapists who are interested in sensory development, and it has just grown and grown because so many professions, rightly so, are interested on sensory development, but also how sensation makes you feel. So you can take our course face-to-face, or you can do it live online, or you can do it self-directed online. And so there are 11 modules and 27 PowerPoint presentations.
Wow.
So it's about 36 hours of content, but we really cover the first 1,001 days of life.
Oh, great.
So we look at how, why sensation is important. We look at neurobiology. We look at how your 8 sensory systems develop, 8 sensory systems. And then we look at understanding birth, pregnancy, and what about if you end up in the neonatal unit? We look at what we call womb spaces. So thinking about the sensory qualities of a womb space. So how that makes you feel, but also how we can support infants' development in the neonatal unit. And then thinking about whatever client group you're working with, we all need womb spaces to feel a little bit better.
For sure.
We look at stress, we look at what we call the mothering space, and that's not gender specific, but it's whoever takes on those early parenting roles. What are the sensory qualities like for the first 3 months or so? And then we look at what we call the fathering space, where your sensory qualities change and the baby is moved outwards, and that helps with play and praxis. And then we move on to therapeutic use of self. So that is kind of the course in a nutshell.
The little overview there. That's right. That's fabulous. And Lindsay, where can the folks find that? Do you have a website? Why don't you tell folks where that is?
So we do indeed have a website. Sensorybeginnings.org is where you can find us. And no, it's not. Sorry, that's my part my work email and part.
It will be sensorybeginnings.com, but that's
.com. I was gonna double check. It's all good. You heard it here first.
Apologies on that one. So sensorybeginnings.com. And so yes, on the website you can book onto courses. We also have more detail about what we provide. We also have a monthly newsletter which you can download, and other freebie information, booklets and leaflets. So you're very welcome to do all of that. We also have via our website, you can buy our neonatal journals. So these we've recently developed, and these are for the families when they're on the neonatal unit. And so that's to support the families both in their understanding of what's going on for their baby, but also being able to think about themselves. How can they support their own regulation states, which obviously is quite significant for them during that period of stay. And we also have some celebration cards as well that they can fill out about the baby's development, when they've had their first wrap bath or when they've had their first cuddle, but also information about the sensory systems as well. Again, how they support them with the baby, and how they can support them in themselves as well.
I love that. I think this is really in this moment right now, this is a moment of celebration, because it reminds me of how far we have come, when it comes to our neonates and what we're doing in order to advance it, protect it. I'm all about protecting the newborn and the family, because there is a lot to go through. We can't help it if someone ends up in the NICU like that, that just happens, but we can certainly make it a better place for them and help them recover well, because we know that there's an amount of trauma that families are likely going to experience on that journey. So, and it is about how they recover in that process. So I absolutely love hearing all the things that you're doing, and thank you. Now, if that wasn't enough, folks, if you haven't heard enough education already, you can go and get that all for free. But Lindsay and Emily will be here at the Gold Neonatal Conference, and they're going to be presenting on the topic of the role of sensation in the NICU, creating healing environments. So again, you're going to be talking about some sensory integration. You're both going to be sharing on that topic. When you're you're both so well versed in this topic, but do you find that you're still discovering new nuanced behaviors all the time? And did you find that when you were putting together this actual presentation? Emily, I see you nodding your head. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I just think like we're constantly learning.
Yeah.
I think the minute you probably think, God, I know everything, it's probably time just to go and quit. And I think, especially like listening to Lindsay. Lindsay will be reading some neurobiology book or some famous person and then sharing. We're constantly learning and sharing new ideas, and it actually does get challenging, constantly having to update our course as well, because
right, of course. Yeah, absolutely. And for you too, Lindsay, you agree?
Oh gosh, yeah, for sure. I mean, at the moment, I'm just writing an article for our next newsletter, and I just said to Emily, I said, "Oh my goodness, there's a whole other load of people here that we need to be knowing about and listening to and reading about." And so, absolutely, every time we put together another presentation, every time we put together the newsletter, every time we do anything, it's just, oh my goodness, there's more to know. We're never going to know it all, but what we hope to do is really to share the learning that we've done over many years in a way that is accessible. I think that's one of the key things that we try to do, is make it accessible, and in the way that we do for our families, try and explain in a sort of an easy way what's going on for us in terms of how sensations support our development. They're part of our development. They're just totally intertwined, our development and sensation, and how what those different sensations are, and how we can use sensation effectively in the recovery phases in the neonatal unit and later on down the line. And, just constantly trying to update ourselves and make sure we're on the front foot in terms of information that's out there, and then disseminating it in a way that's accessible, that people can understand and make best use of.
That's absolutely fantastic. I think that, this will be a great opportunity for folks coming in who either have programs already and or want to learn more. So I want you to play along with me for a minute. Imagine that this is brand new to my unit where I am. I'm trying to bring it in as a professional, but people are not really catching on to what I'm saying. Give me a couple of tools that I can do to take back to my managers to convince them that it's going to be worthwhile. Emily, you go first.
I would just always talk about your 8 senses. And I would say, yes, we're really there to look at what's age appropriate sensory input for the infant.
Ooh, that's
also
good.
The parents. So we are all about supporting co-occupations. And interestingly, we went to a really brilliant conference in March. And Lindsay said at the end of it, we sat through a presentation on family integrated care, family nurtured care, family centered care. And she was like, how many RCTs, randomized controlled trials, do you actually need to do to understand that families are probably the answer? And it was like, yeah, you're probably right there. And then the last part that I would really drive home is the sensory qualities of the staff, because if you don't think about their regulation and what the sensory environment is doing to them, none of this works.
Oh, I like this.
Yes. All the infant, family and staff.
It's all about that co-regulation that we've been talking about, right? Yes. Lindsay, we just have a minute left here. Do you want to take us home here? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think it's getting across, the work in the neonatal unit has for many years been about survival. It's about keeping babies alive, and it is really good at that. It's amazing at it. But now what we really need to turn our attention to, we think, is not only that, but also helping those babies to thrive by using the sensory environment around them. And, these babies have ended up in a situation where there's out of sync sensory experiences for them. And sensory experiences can be actually very stress inducing for them and the parents and the staff. And how we have the opportunity here effectively for free to change the sensory environments, and therefore make them more in keeping with what the neurobiology of an early infant is expecting, and reduce the stressors for the baby and the parents and the staff by tweaking the sensory environment. It's it's all, much of it is very possible actually quite easily, quite an easy way to achieve. And it's just getting people to give things a go, let's give it a go and see where we get to.
I love it. I love it how you're talking about not just the parents, not just the infant, but also the staff. To me, that's about community. You're bringing it full circle, and this is about a community of people that are working, hopefully as teams. That's what we're doing as teams, to invest really not in the short term, but in the long term. Which is absolutely wonderful. Well, thank you, ladies. Thanks for playing along with me. I pulled a little surprise on you friends today, but I just love taking advantage of you because I know you're doing such special work here in the UK and really around the world, because you have made it accessible to everybody around the world as well with your product at sensorybeginnings.com. And then, of course, here at Gold, we've also done that too for everyone listening in. You can come and join Emily and Lindsay at goldneonatal.com for our upcoming 7th annual conference, which is just amazing. We've been connecting with people around the world to make sure that they have the latest and greatest information. And you heard it here first from Lindsay and Emily. What a fabulous presentation. That's going to be the role of sensation in the NICU, creating healing environments. Thank you again so much to Lindsay Hardy and Emily Hills for joining me here today.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of our viewers for joining us as well. We'll look forward to seeing you all online. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye for now, everyone.